8:01, so if everybody's good, I'd like to call the order the Board of Selectmen meeting for Tuesday, November 12th. Please all rise for allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's great. Thank you.
Everybody enjoying the windy day in Madison today? It is howling today.
Get those leaves down.
I'm pretty sure I have the last leaves in Madison. I think I do.
It's funny, I didn't even notice. It shows you my mind is on other things.
It's moving today. They're saying 35-mile-an-hour gusts per Sam. Yeah.
And for some reason, I don't know why Art is up on the screen as a co-host. Which is kind of odd.
That's just how he has permissions on the Board of Selectmen meetings.
But you can feel free to
Take you
put
off.
me in as an attendee. I'm just here to support Adam Levitas.
Yeah, for one of the agenda items, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so feel free to make me an attendee.
Okay, because otherwise it's like we have this other name up there the whole time. So, but thank you, Art. All right, well, with that, I guess moving on for Selectwoman's update, I just want to thank our staff, registrar of voters, our town clerk, and all the election workers for, I think, a pretty well-run, highly efficient and successful, process. Obviously, early voting was a new undertaking for all the towns in Connecticut this year, and presidential years are not the easiest time to try to initiate a new process. But I think they did a fantastic job with, just how everything was rolled out, the communications, and just making sure that our elections were safe and secure. So we're grateful that that all went smoothly. I had the opportunity to attend our annual veterans ceremony at 11 o'clock on the green yesterday, and many of our board members were there. Just a really good opportunity to thank our veterans, and want to continue to offer thanks to all those who have served our country and our town. And it was a really nice event. And that's it for my update right now. Any liaison reports or selectmen comments? No?
Yeah, just one logistics thing I told Peggy already, but I need to sneak out of here at about 9 for a personal doctor's appointment. I will be remote as I'm driving there, but I won't be on camera. So.
Okay. With that, then I guess we can move on to citizens' comments. Do we have any hands raised? I don't see anything. There will be an opportunity. I think mostly right now we just have staff on. So obviously at the end of the meeting, there's an opportunity for citizens' comments at the end. All right, item number 6. I'm going to make an amendment as I emailed the board about. I'd like for the consent agenda. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended to include item J, approve the appointment of Roz Kama and Ryan Duquesne to the Madison 200 America 250 Steering Committee.
So moved.
All right. Any questions or comments on that? No? Okay, great. All in favor, say aye.
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 Great. All right, perfect. So that passes. All right, we'll move on to item number 7, and this is the topic of an update on the Neck River Elementary School, and it has to
just quick. Peggy, just a special thanks to all the folks that applied to the Madison 200. And I'm assuming we had other interviews as well for other committees. It's pretty amazing that we get so many qualified, wonderful people, and super thanks to having them step up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that came out of that, there's so many groups that want to be involved in this. And so maybe what we do at our next meeting is kind of list liaisons for a lot of these organizations. So even though they can have the liaison anyways, the committee can, but if we want to formalize that, just so we make sure that we're capturing all the different touch points in the community for this to celebration. So
yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And the meetings will be publicly announced and open to the public. And so anybody who who wants to come and provide input will have the opportunity to do that.
Okay, so moving on, Adam, I think, is here from the Colliers. And Graham is the chair of the new school building committee. We've got Art who's involved, and here, and now what's nice about this is we're getting down to past construction and getting into all the finishes and things that need to be completed for the school. So, and Adam wanted to give us an update on kind of that whole process. So go ahead, Adam.
Morning, everyone, and thanks for having me. Just wanted to, like Peggy said, provide a brief update of the project, but with a specific focus on some of the packages that'll be forthcoming, not only to the school building committee and the Board of Education, but also eventually to Board of Selectmen for contract approvals. I've got some slides, a very brief slideshow that I'll show here in a moment, but basically just want to walk through sort of where we're at on the project as a whole, where we're at in those separate packages and their development and how they're being developed, and then just briefly touch on budget, and then kind of forecasting the procurement methodology for some of these, because obviously that'll be a key focus for the Board of Selectmen. So with that, I'll share my screen here. And hopefully you can see that. It should just be a picture of a schedule. So this is the overall macro schedule of the project. And as you can see here in 2024, we have our red line here, current status, just a little bit past the halfway point on construction. Don't have an endless slideshow of construction, but just kind of, this is a little bit of an older photo, but kind of give you the sense of what's going on if you were to drive past and walk the site. A lot of the envelope skin is going on the building, bricks being installed, some of the vapor barriers and things like that are going on, so being installed on the walls. The roof is already on, so working on wrapping up the tightness of the building, and then moving on the inside to do the rest of the electrical, and eventually getting to finishes, all those last items in the spring. However, like I said, the focus of this discussion is on these purple items here. And in parallel with the construction effort through our construction manager, Gilbane, we also have call it an owner-led effort for all of the FF&E, so for fixtures, furniture, and equipment. So the proverbial notion is Gilbane's building a building, everything that's loose inside, desks and IT cables and things like that that are not integral to the building itself, are purchased on the owner side and installed thereafter. So Gilbane's great at building buildings, not so great necessarily at buying chairs and things. So it's a separate effort, and that's why we have those packages. So right now there's been some design that's already occurred, but we're getting into the meat of wrapping up the packages for the series of approvals, procurement, some early installation of the IT network closets, things of that nature, and then ultimately doing installation and moving in the summer months after the building is ready to be occupied, but obviously before school starts. There's that, the target is that there's a summer period to get a couple months, get in the building, people set up their desks, work out some of the kinks in the, my password doesn't work, log into the Wi-Fi. You don't want that happening on day one. You want that to occur during the summer. So that's this effort that we're talking about here today. Just as an overview of the building, how there's multiple sections in terms of stylistic appearance, but really this just showing this to kind of convey the overall notion that the building is 2 floors, and within each of these rooms, with each of these sections, the project design team led by Tecton Architects is working with owner stakeholders, obviously the superintendent in his office, but the principal, teacher liaisons when it's appropriate. So for example, SPED teacher weighing in on the SPED sections, speaking to each individual component you see here. So this is the current state of affairs for one of the floor plans, but as you can see, there's each chair, each desk, each carpet gets looked at and worked through for each individual room to identify and compile overall package. So as I mentioned, it gets down to the room, types, colors, getting, this is just a sample rendering from one of the grade 5 rooms. But as you can see here, this is just a working session note from one of the later sessions after we've gone through some iterations where teacher notes are put in. You know, we want cantilevers, not this type of leg. Does it have casters? Does it have, all that stuff gets worked through, led by the architect and worked through with the end user stakeholders. On the AVIT side of things, it's a little less graphically interesting because it ends up being lots of counts, you know, how many wireless access points, how many switches, how many patch cables, that kind of thing. But I'm working through with Art and his team to develop the scope of work as well. And then the third package that's being developed is the playground package. If you recall, and I'm zooming out and showing the site plan, there are 3 playground areas on the site for pre-K to the west, and then the 2 for the upper grades on the east. And with each of those playgrounds, same kind of thing, going through identifying appropriate equipment selections. This is a plan view, so it's a little hard to see, but ultimately manifesting is what the playground equipment would look like. The designer ensuring that it has the appropriate safety fall heights and materiality depth beneath them. And then on a more user standpoint, working with, again, school administration on the types of equipment that are being selected, not just whether or not the students want slides or swings, but also thinking of inclusivity. That has been a key focus for a number of the pieces of equipment to ensure that it's, you know, not just checking the box on meeting, you know, the types of equipment that fit the population needs at the school, but also actually fitting the needs. So for example, one of the areas of this piece of equipment was changed out. It's kind of hard to see in the back here, but it was changed out to be more at ground level to allow for better access, not just, you know, having students be able to go and use that are able-bodied, being able to use the spinny area there. In a similar note, one of the pieces of equipment that was added was just a shaded area with plan tables beneath in case there are students that don't want to go play on the equipment. They want to sit, they want to talk with their friends, providing an area there that's thinking of temperature and sun and working through all of the needs that principal and staff are seeing on a day-to-day basis at the current schools, and trying to incorporate that into the playground design. So that's how the packages are being compiled and developed. Ultimately getting into the timeline of things, we're finishing up the actual composition of the packages, developing the drawings, the specifications. There are a number of documents that the state grant process requires, but working through the finalization of those packages to get the first series of approvals, which would be through the school building committee and the Board of Education. And those approvals are with the intent of the type scope that's being procured. So does it align with the education specifications? Does it align with the needs of the district? And the approval is for the project to go to the state and have the state do their final review. So those board approvals, SBC and Board of Education, would be end of November, but probably more likely the December timeframe for those approvals. We then get the state meeting in December or January, basically as soon as we can schedule it after the approvals mentioned above by the SBC, the BOE. Once the state reviews, the state is effectively granting approval to proceed to either contracting or bid, basically procurement. So the state has said, yes, this meets all the requirements for the grant process, and you can go ahead and procure these items, and they'll be eligible for review for reimbursement. That's the key item with going to the state in the December and January timeframe. And then ultimately bidding and contracting in the new year. Once we get our letters from the state for each of the packages, immediately having the contracting lined up to get that resolved, or going to bid as required for items we need to go to bid. And that's where both the school building committee lines votes, as they usually do, but also my understanding from when we did our construction contract is that the Board of Selectmen wanted to review these packages prior to contract because they will be larger in nature. We're looking at in the ballpark of about $3 million combined. So this is not just a small contract here or there for components to be installed. So that's it for the slides. I did want to just, and let me stop there. Any questions on any of that before I talk about just high level budget and procurement items?
Oh, looks awesome. Looks really
Yeah, I was
good.
gonna say, it looks really good, you
The
know?
I might go
It's
sit in
exciting to
that
get to that
shady
point.
area, Adam. I don't know.
We have our, just as an anecdote, we have our weekly construction trailer meetings, and there's way more smiles in this job than some other jobs may have had. People generally get excited about it. It looks great. Stakeholders find it, they're like, oh wow, this building's amazing, and we're kind of marching along. Things are on schedule. So, knock on wood that
Dear.
nothing crazy happens. But right now, this
You
is how
totally
projects
just
should
jinxed
occur.
yourself, man. Why'd you say
I
that?
A glutton for punishment, Scott.
Yeah, right.
So just to kind of wrap up this, we're not seeking any votes or approvals here, but again, this is intended to be the update, so that way when we do come back to this board in January, February, for actual approvals, or if there's something that needs to be ironed out in advance, we've had the preamble already. Overall budget right now, it's coming in slightly above what was initially budgeted, but if you recall, that budget was established back in late 2020, 2021, something to that effect. So all of the escalation that affected the main construction also affects FF&E and playgrounds and things of that nature. But we're trending at about 10% over, so not anywhere near the 20-25% that the main construction project contract had to deal with. So about 2.7 was the overall combined budget for those packages, and we're trending at 2.93, somewhere around there. Initial scoping was much higher based off of just initial, what do we think we want? What do we think we need? But the administration, the design team have done a great job of taking that back quite a bit from where the initial estimates were. So it's been a good process to identify what's required. Not trying to cheapen the building or anything like that, but really drill down to what manufacturers are wanted, what's a need versus a nice to have versus a want, and making sure that those are included. So that's where that's trending, and all of that is contemplated already in project contingencies. So that's not a concern from at least a current financial management perspective on the project.
My question. So you answered it.
In terms of procurement methodology, with furniture packages, there's often a greater focus on providing the exact type of material you want. So it's this type of chair versus that type of chair. We have a district standard on this IT component. The playgrounds are designed a certain way for a certain manufacturer who has one type of slide versus a different type of slide. So with construction, drywall is drywall is drywall. What brand of drywall doesn't necessarily matter, but obviously it matters more when you get into these packages. So the current intent for the majority of the procurement items is to go and solicit off state DAS contracts. So that way you can get the exact piece you want. It's got the set price. There's no ambiguity. That's a typical process for this type of grant funded project. Some larger sort of sub packages, if you will require bid. So for example, the smart boards, just with the amount and the individual unit price, those are going to exceed the state contract limit. So those will need to be put out to bid, and we'll need to get a sole source approval from the state to be able to go out to bid for those items. But it's again, it's a district standard, uses Promethean boards. Therefore, that number of Promethean boards would be sought out of a sole source public bid process. Some smaller components, less than $5,000. The typical example is the little flags that go on the whiteboards, the American flags. You don't go out to bid for 30, 40 flags, something like that for classrooms. So those types of items typically are just a direct purchase through town pro cards or what have you, and then move back to the project budget for incorporation. There is the potential for some additional labor installation and configuration, particularly on the IT side of things. Art is here as well to kind of speak to that. But basically, there's town standards for IT configuration that they often use the one vendor to help configure that consistently across the district. So that's a component that might be targeted for a bid waiver or something to that effect to ensure consistency across the district. So working through with the project team on finalizing those scopes, developing the packages, identifying what's targeted for bid versus state contract versus direct purchase versus kind of soliciting the town vendor. But the idea is that over the next month, those would get compartmentalized. I'll work with town finance and Peggy to confirm if there's any intermediate approvals that need to be done through this body in advance of some of those January and February contracts. But then ultimately, again, in the January, February timeframe, coming back to this body for what's effectively a series of approvals for contracting for $2 to $3 million worth of furniture, playground packages, things of that nature. So that's the end of my spiel and update. So I'm happy to answer any questions or that's again, so this is just sort of be the preamble, so we're not coming in cold, asking for votes and approvals without having sort of update.
Great stuff. And if anything goes wrong, we'll just blame Graham, right?
He's trying to find the unmute button on his phone.
I mean, I think it would be good, you know, we're gonna want to update, obviously, because we've been talking about the transfer of funds, you know, from the Polson project and we know now that that will be coming back. And so I think it'll be important to have maybe in December or something where we are in that whole process. Obviously, you're still working through finalizing things. So there'll be a more detailed conversation overall on the project budget, which we're in great shape. You know, when he talks about 10%, remember there's all these contingencies and everything. So we're not really 10% because we have contingencies to handle a lot of this. So, so there's no budget issue here. I just want to highlight that. If anything, we're expecting to get funding back into the Polson project. So that hasn't changed at all. And so I think that will be a conversation that we'll be having towards the end of this year to kind of update the board on all that.
Yes.
Okay. Great. All right. Well,
Right.
thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great morning.
Okay. You
Thanks,
too.
Adam.
All right. Moving on to item number 8. You have in your packet an update on ARPA. We're getting towards the final amounts here in terms of trying to, you know, allocate, I guess, funds. Just a reminder to the public that we have to kind of have purchase orders or some sort of earmark for our ARPA funds by the end of 2024, and then they have to be spent by the end of 2026. So it was important to have everything allocated here. We're at a balance, and I don't know if Stacy's on, if she wants to give the update. I've got it here in my packet. We all saw it. I'm just trying to find it now, of course. I just had it, and now it disappeared.
I am here.
Okay, great. Yeah, if you just want to spend a second talking about where we are in the balance. Oh, this
Sure.
is the wrong meeting. I'm like, packet,
Before,
go ahead.
before we vote today on the projects in the next agenda item, we are at 117,000. That's after we returned the balances and at the last couple board meetings for the projects that were approved. So before we move on, we have 117,000 right now.
Okay.
Doing pretty
and
good.
so, yeah, we're doing good. And there still might be some money trickling in as these projects close out. And I'll talk a little bit after we get through our decisions here, but how we might take those extra money trickling in through an action taken today and by the Board of Finance, that it would just kind of automatically go to a certain project at the end. But we still have these outstanding requests. So if we're good to move on to item number 9, or maybe we'll do the motion. Let's do the discussion of the requests, and then I can do a motion depending on what we decide. Does that make sense? So we have some outstanding requests that we've been there were second requests by organizations that had already received funding. I did at the last minute add one more town request, and this is through conversations with Austin. We've been having some I don't want to say issues, but a lot of discussion about the benches downtown. And one of them was some of them are in disrepair, and some of them have been moved around a lot, causing some problems for residents. And as we started looking at the benches, it's really a hodgepodge downtown that have been in existence for a while. I think they were supposed to be replaced during the downtown center project, so you kind of had everything looking the same. And the funding, from what I was told, they ended up not being able to fund that because the project obviously was very tight on the budget. So Austin did an inventory. And we thought, wouldn't it be nice to have everything look the same and kind of reset the button on the benches downtown and have kind of a thoughtful plan where we mark out where we're going to have them. And I think we would look to actually secure the benches because they've been kind of moved around and causing problems getting in the way of people. So Austin, if you just want to spend a second, he wrote a memo about it. And we came up with, there's two choices if the board is interested. So I thought, let us all weigh in, if we want to move forward with this. And, Austin, if you want to spend a second talking about your inventory.
Thanks, Peggy. So yeah, last week did an inventory of the benches downtown. And as you could see in the memo, there's 21 benches throughout the downtown area. Also, that includes the 4 at the Memorial Town Hall flagpole. So as you see, the biggest area with the most benches is the Ashley's Ice Cream Plaza, which has 9. Out in front of M&T Bank, there's 2. There's one out in front of Coldwell Banker Realty. The little park on the side of Walker Loden has 2 benches. There's 2 benches in front of Life Bowls area, 4 at Memorial Town Hall, and then there was 1 that was in some pretty serious disrepair out in front of the post office that we removed a few weeks ago. So on the memo, you'll see there's some choices on the back. These are from Dumar. This is the company we use to purchase benches for all of our parks in town. And the first one on the list, the Dumar 35, is the ones that we have down here at Surf Club. So they're, they have a rounded arm area. They're Douglas fir, which is pretty, it works well in the salt air and the salt water getting on it, which isn't as much of a factor downtown, but still they hold up to the elements pretty well. And then the third one, the Dumar 57, again, more of a standard park bench style, a little more expensive. And then the one in the middle is the Dumar 490, about $15,000 more than the Dumar 35s. But just wanted to give you some options, some choices to look at. And all of the pricing that I have on there includes a plaque. So a lot of the benches downtown have plaques. All the ones at Memorial Town Hall have memorial plaques. A few in the Ashley's Plaza do as well. So we'll be able to, plot out the current benches, what it says on the plaques, replace in kind. And then the ones that don't have plaques, that would be an opportunity for somebody to purchase that from us.
And then we're gonna have kind of a running inventory, of this and kind of track it a little bit more. And now Austin has a policy that people agree to, right? After 10 years, is it? If you're
correct, yeah. So when we do sell or when we do have memorial benches at any of our parks that people purchase, so make the purchase and then the donor funds the bench. And then going forward, since I started, 4 years ago, any ones that were donated during that time, when they do become in disrepair or, are no longer a viable bench, that donor needs to replace it with the same type of bench, we would just go through the process again with that person.
The 35 is the only one that doesn't have regular feet. Is anchoring that style of bench a problem?
Nope. So we have those. If you go down to East Wharf, we have those on the deck or the walkways down at East Wharf. It's just a different type of foot, but it absolutely can be anchored into the ground.
I'm giving my
I
opinion,
asked-
but I like the Dumar 57. It seems like I'm thinking of the clock and the sort of the historic nature of the downtown space, and the one at the top, the Dumar 35, seems a little more modern as opposed to maybe a little more classy looking. I'd vote for the 57.
I agree with Scott. I like the more classic look for our downtown area with the style of buildings. It's my personal opinion.
That was my thinking as well, that downtown is a little more traditional, so we would want something more traditional. So, you know, if we were to do this, obviously I would prefer to do the 57 as well.
And
I'm
are
okay
any
with
of the
that.
ones that we're proposing to replace, are they serviceable? Can they be relocated to like the ball fields or some other place that?
Salt Meadow, maybe. Yeah.
They're serviceable. They'll need a little bit of some TLC, but yes, they are usable benches. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. I was thinking the same thing, Bruce. It would be great to, you know, if we were, I know you said, Austin, that the style of benches that we're looking at, boards and whatnot could be replaced as needed. So if we've got the structural frame from the other benches that, you know, we could service and repurpose in other areas, that would be great.
Well,
So-
I'm
Yeah.
with you guys. I think the 57 is probably the right one to go. And so, in the interest of time,
Okay.
since we're in agreement,
Violent
Okay,
agreement.
great.
I
So
love
we
it when a
will-
plan comes together.
When I amend the motion, then we'll do the, up to 38,700. I think when we did this on Friday, we didn't have the exact numbers, or I hadn't noticed that there was a little higher than the 35. So we'll approve 38,700. So, okay, so we're good on that. And then we have these outstanding 4 or 3 outstanding second requests that we had seen before, and then Bruce had requested additional second request for ABC House, because ABC House we had approved, I think it was 2 months ago, but that was kind of their first request because of just timing and everything that had been involved with their project. So now they're kind of in the mix as a second request. My thought was approaching this similar to that we've done with other second requests, and we would grant, you know, and we did this with the Little League, is a 30%. Treating all groups the same. They've come back, they've been through the process, and that we would award them 30% again of their second request. And then what would happen is then we would take, so they'd each get 30% of what they're requesting. And then the remaining funds would go into this motion and be allocated moving forward to a CIP project. And we're proposing the EOC project, because we know there's budget issues on that project, and that this is somewhere we can sweep in and pay for some of the upfront advisor costs with the architects. And hey, Austin, you need to mute. I'll mute him. Mute him. There we go. Oh, what's going on? Okay, great. I'm sorry. So, and so this would kind of be a sweep that we would do into that project. And then if anything else trickled in over the next 6 to 12 months, because we've done this approval, any extra dollars would go to help that project. So it's a big project in CIP. We got a big federal grant for it, but there's still a matching component that the town has to do for that project. And this would just help, I think, you know, that project continue along with its funding. So I guess for discussion right now would be, I think we're all comfortable with the groups that are making these because we gave them first requests, right? And maybe just with the spirit of knowing we want to kind of, the idea had been focusing on town projects moving forward. We give a third of the request to the community request and then the remaining funds. And I did quick math. It basically would add up to, there'd still be $75,000 remaining if we gave each group a third. And we did the benches, although I did it under $35,000, but it would give you roughly $75,000 left over that would go to the EOC that they could apply right now because they're hiring construction. We just hired a firm for the design construction, and we can apply that money to that bill. So those are my thoughts. Any other ideas on this?
Like consistency. So I think that's good. If we did that same approach to Little League, I think that sounds right to me. Just so that we're staying consistent across everybody.
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, I think generally I'm good with it. I still I'm a little disappointed that the Wellington project is not necessarily going to directly benefit the residents. That this is just simply making the project more financially feasible, which isn't a bad thing. But with an ongoing solar panel thing, it would be nice to think that the residents would see a break in their electric from that. But as I understand from the explanation we got before, that's not the case.
For operations, it's more for.
Well, that allows them to put the solar in, but there is no then downstream benefit to the residents.
I don't know if that was necessarily what my understanding is, anything that's going to reduce the overall operating costs of the project is going to eventually help the residents, right? And it helps from future, because we know solar helps protect you from future increases in rates. You're right. Do we know how that's all going to work? No, we don't. We're basically funding this, asset for them to help make sure that their electricity is affordable. How
And then the
trickles down
other
to them, I don't know.
hesitancy with the lyric stage request is this is not a looking backwards at a COVID related type of thing. It's they're looking forwards to their 2025 budget and asking for a contribution against their 2025 budget. And I've just struggled to reconcile that within the spirit of where the ARPA money came from.
Because it's not a direct project that's having a shortfall now. I kind of agree with you, Bruce.
Yeah, I agree with that also.
I mean, I don't disagree with that either. We've been really more focused on
Shortfalls, right? Yeah.
but also I think any of these organizations had big shortfalls during COVID, right? Because fundraising was difficult. So that kind of carries forward. Because now any of your new fundraising is kind of partly filling in gaps from before, but well, and we don't have to fund the second request. I mean, we did give, I'm trying to think, they had on the chart, just so we remind ourselves, they received, so the lyric stage received actually quite a good reward size, $32,440. And then the Wellington received roughly the same amount for the panels. But it is a project and it's the same project they're coming back for. And we did tell these groups that, they could come back if they want, we'd give them a third, I think originally, and then come back. Oh no, wait, we gave them, so the Wellington, we only gave a third.
Actually,
yeah, Wellington solar panels, they asked for 32,400. We gave them now 9,720. This is in your packet. And then we said, come back if there's money left over, maybe we can give you more to help that project. Madison Lyric Stage did receive their full, I don't know if that was their full request. Their full request might have been much, but they received $32,000 in
We
2020.
don't. So what if we don't fund Lyric Stage but fund Wellington in full? Because in essence, we cut them in the first round.
I mean, that's up to the board, how much more we want to fund the project. And then ABC had asked for 106, we gave them 82, so this would basically be fully funding them as well if we did the full $23,000 request.
Well, we can still do, I think, partial funding. I mean, as much as it would be good, I think when we, at least in my mind, when I distinguish between a look back type of making whole and some of the ones that aren't necessarily there's kind of a larger community benefit component to it. But offsetting expenses on the EOC, which, is going to benefit directly the taxpayers.
Right.
I think the Wellington project is one of our cornerstone strategic goals, right? Being a friendly, welcoming town to those types of projects. So, at least in my rationalization, I'm easier to get there with that. And then sort of the same with ABC. I think they touch on in a very tangible way a cornerstone strategic objective of making the town welcoming for everybody.
So if we did just, so we have if we do the full 38,000 for the benches, that leaves us 78,332. And then if we did Wellington at 22,400 and the ABC house at 23, that leaves us $32,932 left. Is that right?
That's what I have.
Okay, so that still leaves us 32,932. Vibe, the show choir trailer, that was definitely a second request as well. And we kind of left that hanging out there. So I don't know what thoughts are on that.
Well, do we want to, I mean, they've been pretty
Okay.
consistent in coming, and do we want to do that 4,000 for them? I think
I'm comfortable with that.
I'm too.
Okay, so 4 for that. So basically then, and then I guess the idea is Madison Lyric Stage did get a large donation. And the question is, do we want to give them anything else?
I
It's
have a
not-
thought about Lyric, and I realize I'm getting ahead of myself here, but the Academy building, when it is finished, is a possible venue for the Lyric Stage. I'm not speaking for them, but I guess I hate to invest in their physical plant if a couple of years from now they're going to perhaps be moving across the street. Part of the funds they asked for was for some HVAC equipment to heat and cool the tent, which is very meritorious. But I guess I don't know whether I don't know what the future holds, but it's entirely possible they'll be moving across the street.
Guys, just a quick interruption. Jen's internet went down, so she's trying to get back on.
Oh, okay.
Just a heads up, maybe due to the wind.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair thought as well, Al. That's a big conversation that will be happening over the next couple of years, depending on where we land on terms of what we can do with the Academy with the budget. So, I mean, and it is, they were one of our larger award recipients. I will say that from a donation standpoint, already. And I do feel.
I say we hold off on that one.
all right.
Okay,
We've got a consensus here.
so that would leave us 28,932 that would go into the EOC project, a CIP project. So we'll give
Okay
Jen a
with that?
second.
When we
And just a quick check, and that's something that's that we can do um per the constraints, right? That constitutes it's being spent. It's allocated
Yes.
and okay, so that's I'm just checking in on that.
Yeah, so basically, and she checked this with auditors. Stacy, I don't know if you wanna, can you give me, I just need to make sure I get the numbers right. So the
Yep.
total would be, we would be approving if we did 38,700, right? Plus 4,000, right? Plus 22,400 plus 23,000 for Madison Lyric Stage. That would be $88,100.
That's what I have.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
And then we can talk about item number 10, and you can explain that in a few minutes. So why don't we get this done? If Jen can get on here in another second. See if she's on yet.
saying that cell coverage is tough where she lives, and she's having a hard time getting that to work also. So she's
Okay.
We should do
trying.
something about that.
Yeah, she's trying for sure.
Okay. Well, why don't we talk next
So
piece?
I'll
before
move
we
number
vote?
9 as amended, if that's what you're.
All right, so discuss and take action to approve round 22 ARPA as amended, ARPA funding request totaling $88,100 pending Board of Finance approval for up to $38,700 for the Beach and Rec Department for new outdoor benches for downtown center, $4,000 from Vibe Show Choir for purchase of a trailer, their second request, a $22,400 from Wellington for solar panels, their second request, and $23,000 from ABC House for renovation projects, second request.
So I'll move that if
Yeah.
somebody wants to second it.
I'll second it.
Okay, great. So and I think Jen was in alignment with this, it sounded like. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. So item number 10 is discuss and take action to approve allocating all remaining ARPA fund balances as of December 1st, 2024, and any future balances that may become available to the Madison Hose Building Addition project pending Board of Finance approval.
So moved.
Second. Or
Okay,
give it
great.
out.
So Stacy, you just want to talk a little bit about this because this is kind of a blanket thing. So any money that trickles in would just get swept into this CIP project, the EOC project.
Yeah, exactly. So we were worried that we were going to come to December 31st and something was not committed or something fell below what we originally committed and we would run out of time. So I reached out to the auditors and they confirmed, excuse me, that we can allocate any balances or any unspent or any unobligated funds to an existing project that we either already spent the money or towards a encumbrance or a commitment that's out there. So we thought since we've already spent over where we are right now on the EOC, it would be very easy to just allocate the remaining balance to that project. And also, if anything comes up later on, like we don't know about today, by making this motion today, we're capturing any loose dollars that come because we absolutely want to take advantage of the full $5 million that we got. So by doing this motion, we can allocate any balances to that project. As I said, we've already spent enough. And even if a big surprise came up with, or bigger than we're expecting, that balance can also be allocated to this project. And we don't foresee big changes. We just wanted to protect ourselves and cover that, make sure that we meet the 12/31 deadline.
Yeah, and we've had a couple of things that we had approved up to a certain amount that they're getting finalized. So there could be like $5,000 left over or something like that. All the stuff trickles in. And the good thing about the EOC is we already approved that initial contract, right, for the design build team. They're starting on all that. And that's like 140,000, is it?
I think
Stacey?
it was a 120, but yes, we had already committed to that and we've already spent money out of that as well. So we
Yeah.
will definitely, be covered for any little
Yeah.
balance that trickles back in.
Okay,
Bruce or Jeannie, can you promote Jen?
I did,
Thanks.
okay.
or I tried to.
Yeah, she's not there.
She's still there.
Oh, Jennifer's iPhone, is that?
Yeah, that is her. And I've clicked on promoting her 3 times now. It hasn't seemed to work. So let's see.
I
I
just
just
did
gave,
it.
I
It's
just gave her
going.
talking.
Yeah,
It's going.
she's here now. All right. Jen, can you hear us?
She's got no.
Audio yet.
Well, we'll press on. I know Scott's got 1 foot out the door already.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so if everybody's good with that, that is basically taking the remaining fund balances and sweeping it to the project and CIP that's already been approved. The Jen, this motion on item 10 is basically taking the leftover balances and putting it towards the emergency operations center downtown firehouse expansion project. And so, that'll help out on CIP for sure.
Perfect.
So with that, then all in favor of approving item number 10, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. All right, motion passes. Thank you. And Jen, we kind of I don't know if you heard where we came out. We awarded full requests for Vibe, Wellington, and ABC House, and we did not move forward with the Madison Lyric Stage right now, just because it was more of like a donation and it was kind of they'd already received $32,000 from the town. So
Okay, yep, I'm in agreement with that.
yeah, okay, good. So we'll move on to item number 11. Discuss and take action to approve a return of $80,452 in the CIP CNRE residual project balances to the CIP CNRE master account pending Board of Finance approval.
Moved.
So move. Second.
Okay, great. Any questions about that? That's just funds that were left over from existing projects that from another project that we're returning. Any questions on that? No, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Item number 12, discuss and take action to approve a funding request from the Beach and Rec Department in the amount of $50,000 from the CIP CNRE master account for the CIP CNRE Town Campus Maintenance Garage Restoration Project pending Board of Finance approval.
Moved.
So moved.
Okay. So Austin, you want to talk about this? This has been in CIP for a long time. But why don't you just spend a second? Obviously, the costs have gone up significantly more than what CIP had been kind of escalating it at.
Yeah, so at Town Campus, we have the maintenance garage that our Buildings and Grounds Department uses for storage of plows, grass seed, ice melt, all kinds of things that are required through the department. It's been in disrepair for as long as I can remember. And it's been in CIP for, as Peggy said, for quite some time. So we are at the stage now where we want to, or we need to do some work on the building. So this project includes new lighting and electrical, new overhead door, and re-skinning the building. So keeping all of the existing, metal parts of the building, but re-skinning the outside and also replacing the heating system on the inside. It's a building that we use every day, 5 to 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And, it needs to be, we have a lot of equipment, a lot of very expensive field maintenance stuff that gets kept in there. So having a building that's, watertight, with the proper heating and ventilation systems in there, is pretty important to the day-to-day operations here, with the department.
So I think if you've ever looked at the building, it's pretty obvious it needs to be refreshed. And like I said, this is one of those things that always just gets pushed to the side in CIP. So we're glad we can kind of get to this point. And before, I think we were trying to do the whole replacement, but steel is just so expensive now, any steel building. So this was a kind of nice way to do a more cost-effective way to update the building.
Yeah, and the steel bones of the building are still good. So thankfully we're able to hold on to those and just skin it and have a nice refresh down there.
Any additional questions on that? Concerns?
Nope.
Okay, all in favor of item 12 as presented, say aye.
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 Aye. All right, great. Moving on to item number 13. Discuss and take action to award a contract to BMP Construction for $229,558 for the town campus maintenance garage restoration project as recommended by the Beach and Rec Department, and to authorize the first selectman to sign all documents associated with this award. Budgeted in fiscal year 2024-25 capital improvement CNRE pending Board of Finance approval of additional funding.
So moved.
Okay. Great, and this is just actually the awarding of the contract with the additional funding. So this will all be pending Board of Finance, obviously. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, great.
Thank you.
And item number 14, discuss and take action to approve a funding request for the Madison Police Department in the amount of $18,658.60 from the Communication Fund for the purchase of a voice recorder system for 911 services pending Board of Finance approval.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, great. I'll let this is something that kind of was recently discovered, or I think it's I'll let Jeremy talk to it, but that needs to get upgraded.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, it's a system that records all of our 911 transmissions, 911 calls, all the radio transmissions for all the service providers. That's on top of police, ambulance, and fire. We just found out that our system has been failing, and we need to keep the system going, obviously, for records retention laws and everything. So it's just a system that needs to be replaced, and it's definitely used by all the services in the town.
So this would be coming out of the Communications Fund. Any further questions? No? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. Motion passes. Item number 16, discuss and take action to approve selected revisions to the town's personnel policy regarding personal days and vacation accrual schedule. Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, great. So this is basically following on, do we lose Bruce now? Oh, no, he's
Yeah, I
still-
don't know if I'm here or not.
Okay.
My
Oh,
internet
you're
keeps
there.
crashing.
Peggy, did you award the contract for the police
Oh, did I-
911 services?
Did I skip one? I skipped one. Sorry. Let me retract item number 16 and I will item number 15, discuss and take action to award a contract to Eventide Communications for a voice recorder system for 911 services in an amount of $18,658.60 and to authorize the first selectman to sign all documents associated with this award pending Board of Finance approval of additional funding.
So moved.
Okay. So this is just the contract piece of item number 14. I kind of glossed past that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. Item number 16. Now I will remove, make another motion to discuss and take action to approve selected revisions to the town's personnel policy regarding personal days and vacation accrual schedule. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. So this is basically, we had our conversation last month about proposed changes we're going to continue to do some work on the deferred compensation plan, and we'll talk more about that. But these were ones I think the board had discussed and felt comfortable. It would be adding an additional personal day for town employees, and it would be changing the vacations accrual schedule to be more in line with what other municipalities are offering, in terms of keeps us competitive for hiring purposes. And Deb is on here. I don't know if you have any questions. I think in here was a markup, right? The actual document. Why my thing is all messed up right now. Oops. Any questions regarding? Sorry, I'm trying to find the
There's a
didn't
red
have-
line version there.
Yeah, it's just towards the end. I've got like a million. I know you submitted it, but let me just see. Why am I not seeing, was this not in the packet?
No, I saw it in the packet.
Page
Oh, yeah,
74
here it
of
is.
the
Sorry.
package.
Yeah, okay, I was trying to refer you. Here it is. I got it now. Yeah, I went too far. Yeah, so this is basically page 30, which just updates the accrual schedule. And all we're doing is, that you can be eligible for 3 weeks vacation, or 4 weeks vacation starting in year 10, correct, Deb? And then, whereas before it was year 15. So you had to be here another 10 years to get 1 more week of vacation.
Right.
It's way out of step with where, and it's not in practice because a lot of times we're doing lateral hires. So we end up offering them more vacation anyways. This just makes it fair for our own employees to be, compatible to any kind of lateral hires that we make.
Peggy, Scott Murphy would like to be promoted.
Oh. All right. Oh, Scott's iPhone, yeah. Got that. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, Scott, you're promoted now. So anyways, these were what we had agreed last time. I think that everybody was comfortable with this. Obviously, the deferred compensation plan is going to be a lot of process and going to have implications on the budget. So we're going to separate that conversation. Any further questions with those changes? No? Bruce, are you on? Are you good?
I am.
Okay.
I'm on dial-up modem speed here.
Oh, boy. Okay. So I guess with that, all in favor, say aye.
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 Scott, aye, yep, okay, yeah, you all got the markup, so, okay, great. So item number 16, so item number 17, I thought we'd just talk about a little bit more, the deferred compensation plan, which is basically our kind of 401k, 457 plan. And we talked about increasing the matching component to make us more in alignment with our collective bargaining agreements. Unaffiliated employees right now receive a 6% match. Our collective bargaining agreements for a long time have been getting a 7% match. And then also, if you look into, I think Deb had shown the comps from comparable towns, a lot of towns are at a minimum 7 and even higher. So this does have a budget impact. So Deb was just going to talk a little bit about those numbers and what that would mean from a budget standpoint. When we had this conversation, there was a lot of discussion about incentives, I think. And so I just want to make sure I know where you guys are comfortable, what changes you're comfortable. Because once we kind of agree what we want to change, then we have to have the pension advisor and our attorneys go through and revise the plan document. And that's a process that then goes to the Board of Finance and then a town meeting. So I just want to make sure I understand what types of changes, and you will have a chance to review those changes, obviously, but before we spend a lot of time drafting a document, I want to make sure we understand, where we are. So Deb, if you want to just talk about the matching and the budget impact for that and what the changes are that we're proposing, that would be great.
Okay. So this is for unaffiliated employees only. We have 25 unaffiliated employees that participate in the defined contribution plan. Of those 25, only 20 employees are at the 6% match, which is the maximum amount. The other 5 are contributing less. So if we look at that spreadsheet and we look at those numbers based on what is currently happening today, it would be $18,101 as an impact to the budget if we were to move from 6% to 7%. And like I said, at this time, only 20 out of the 25 employees are affected. But that's how much the annual budget cost would be if we went from 6 to 7%.
And I will tell that I will recuse myself. I participate in this plan. So as I will recuse myself from voting, for changes. So this will be a board decision. I'll step out of the voting for this. So I just wanted to put the budget impact out there. And then there's some items in the document that are more, we're going to be cleaning up some of the language just issues that have popped up when employees have left where it's not clear in the pension. We call it the pension plan, but it's the deferred compensation plan, right? So the markup would allow us to change the matching component to it, and then we would make these adjustments in terms of well, the other thing is the vesting. Excuse me, it's the matching, but it's the vesting, which is the other piece.
Right, the vesting is the second piece.
Yeah.
We're looking to change that to a 20, 40, 60, 80, 100%. As opposed to the 5-year clipped vesting. We have found that along the shoreline and the other towns that we recruit from, that most or all towns are using the 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 as opposed to a 5-year clip. And when our employees are finding this out, they don't see that as a benefit to being here at the town of Madison. So that we're just looking to be competitive with other towns so that we can recruit when we need to for the positions that are available. So that's another thing that we were looking at, because we're hoping that if we have an employee that's been here 2 to 3 years and they know that they're already 2 to 3 years vested, that they would stay longer, as opposed to somebody that looks like, well, it's already been 2 or 3 years, I'm not going to get anything out of it. And they leave because they don't have any investment within the town of Madison. So we're hoping that that will change and that we will have more of a long-term employee when they come here.
I think it's just fairness. I mean, I think a lot of these were, we were coming off a pension plan, which is very different, where people tend to have a lot more longevity. And, now we need to adapt that we're not, it's just a different kind of retirement benefit environment than when this dates, it's been
10
over 10
years ago.
years, right? It's
It's a
been over
different
10 years since it's
mindset.
been. Yeah, so it's a different change in mindset for sure. I think before it was kind of mirroring the vesting for the pension plan. Now we're looking at it holistically as a defined contribution plan. So it's just time to update it and refresh it. So if people are comfortable with that, there'll be another phase of this now where you'll get a markup and we'll talk about the actual, of the actual plan. But we would understanding if we're going to move forward with the vesting, there's going to be this $16,000 hit, or what was the number again?
$18,101.
Right, that we would have to allocate into the new budget. This would go into effect for July 1st. So I will, if the board is good with that, I'll put it all there. That doesn't mean that we have to agree to it now, but at least that's what's going to be in the proposed budget, and then we can have further discussions, because trade-offs, right? We all understand that there are trade-offs in the budget all the time. And so we can kind of have that conversation later, but at least now kind of the origins and what it would look like if we did move forward with approving this later. Okay. Any other questions for Deb? And like I said, the conversation will continue, so. All right, great. All right, well, thank you for that. Moving on to item number 18. Discuss and take action to approve releasing funds from the planning reserve in the amount of $25,000 to fund consulting services for the IRA tax credit for the town campus geothermal project pending Board of Finance approval.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All right, great. So I'll let Stacy explain this, but this is unfortunately, in order to get our money on the IRA tax credit, it's very complicated and requires a lot of specialized reporting. And so we're gonna have to hire a consultant to help us get through this, but obviously the reward is huge. So Stacy, if you want to talk about this and how we landed where we are, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. So we've been talking about this, reaching out to other consultants and seeing what the best option was. And then a couple months ago, I went to a conference and I heard this firm, CLA, talk about their experience and the positive results that they got. So we had a call with them, the whole group, including facilities and the vendor on the town campus, facility only. This is not the school yet. This is totally separate. And we decided that they were the best fit. They came back with a price of $25,000 for town campus. They're estimating $800,000 for reimbursement. They will do all of the filings. There's a tax return that needs to be done. They will do that. And we already provided them with a lot of the information about the project, and they do believe that we have an excellent chance of getting back this 800,000. So we're pretty excited to get this moving along.
And if you recall, the board, when we had to get this project moving, we had appropriated, this is replenishing money that the town had kind of fronted for this IRA tax credit funding. So this is just the next step. I think it's unfortunate that we have to hire consultants for these things, but that's just the way it is right now. But they have been very successful at getting the money and they have some examples. And and then we decided planning reserve was the best kind of pocket to use that from, and that requires both boards. Any further questions on 18? No? Okay,
Nope.
great. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
great. All right, item number 19.
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry.
Okay, good.
Hard to get on mute and drive at the same time.
Yeah, no, be careful, Scott. I think you want to focus on your driving. Item number 19, discuss and take action to approve a contract with CLA LLP in an amount not to exceed 25,000 to provide IRA tax credit services for the town campus geothermal project and to authorize the first selectman to sign all documents associated with this award pending Board of Finance approval of funding.
So moved.
Okay, great. All right, great. So this is just basically the contract that would be awarded once the funding is approved. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Did you get a second? I'll second it if you want.
Yeah, no, we're
I didn't
good.
hear one.
No,
Okay.
Al's been doing
Hand
raising.
raising.
So,
All right.
all right, item number 20, discuss and take action to approve the town joining the by board purchasing cooperative to benefit from advantageous procurement pricing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and this is
That's a mouthful.
yeah, I know. This is another one of those consortiums that we did one last time that allowed us to participate from the Massachusetts one. I forget, it was Sam, was this the one that you were proposing? I forget who this originated from, the buy board.
Yes. Yeah, it's for the sign, the Stewart signs. They're on that consortium. So I think Chris has got all the paperwork filled out. All we have to do is send the application in. And actually, we're going to get a bit cheaper price once we do that.
Yeah, so if we're members, then we get like a discounted price if we're members of this consortium. So it saves us money on the project. Any further questions on that? No? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. And I
Aye.
think that is, thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
Item number 21 is citizens' comments. It looks like we have a hand raised.
Go ahead, TV. You have permission to talk.
Oh, hello. Hi, this is Terry Vanadilder, 17 Bartlett Drive. I didn't know that I would have an opportunity to talk in person, so I did submit a question. And you did address part of this already, but I was curious why on the agenda, the Board of Selectmen chose to vote on the distribution of ARPA funds before discussing the approval of essential building and infrastructure town projects, which must be funded by Madison taxpayers. There are a couple items, as you already looked at, that were in the suggested ARPA fund recipients that don't meet the quote federal eligibility uses per the 2022 Department of Treasury definition. The Madison Lyric Stage season budget shortfall is one which you already decided not to fund, but also the purchase of the trailer for the Vibe Show Choir doesn't meet the federal definition of eligibility for ARPA funds. Several items on the today's Board of Selectmen which do require funding, such as the police department voice recorder for 9/11 services, the town campus maintenance garage restoration project, the Madison Hose building project, they do meet the eligibility for receiving ARPA funds, and they make sense. Even funding overtime pay that is already in the budget for police department and other town staff are legally eligible for receiving ARPA funds and make sense. So when looking at what you've already approved, both today and historically, it's a good idea to take a look and review at the specifics of the federal law regarding eligibility.
Okay, thank you for your comments. We're always conscious of there are certain contingencies. We received an award under $10 million, which has a different set of rules that we follow, but thank you for your comments. With that, any other public comments? Nope. Okay, great. All right, I guess with that, hearing no objection, meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.